Team Elements said the busy builder is now live. Streaming miniatures.
Hello. Frank, I've got to get going on this. I'm never going to finish it if you're there on the table. He's been doing this all morning. He just wants to play. Yeah, I'll play fetch later, okay, buddy? Between you and Allie in the box top over there. Yeah, you're a good boy. So I'm going to put you down on the floor, and I'm going to start working on this tiger. I mean, I know you got a nice tiger stripe, but I got to work on the other tiger, okay? You're not the tiger in question, okay? Yeah. So come on. Up, up. Stand up. Come on, buddy. God, you're huge. Oh, such a big boy. There you go. Trying to remember which sprues were which. Like I said, I haven't touched this all week. Okay. So we'll want to scrape off this since we're not using that position. Came off easily. These are the bottoms for the towing cable retainers. They're molded in on this side since they don't move for most versions. But on the command version, they had to move this one forward a little bit.
Almanac said greetings, busy boy.
Hey Almanax, how you doing? Yeah, I really haven't done anything since the last time you saw it. I think the most I did is I gave the side fender some light damage, but not a lot. All the pictures I've seen of the tigers from this unit, they were pretty immaculate.
Almanac asks, did you finish the tracks?
If you're talking about the ones for the T28, T95, I haven't even started them yet. For this kit, we're not even going to bother with the kit included tracks, we're just using these. for something a bit more fiddly real quick, and hopefully we can get onto some more large gross detail. 38, 39, 40. This is going to be fun. Okay, I'm just going to glue these directly to the hatch. I'm not even going to try and get good alignment on them. I'll fiddle with it after they're on. Because that goes there. And I've got to do this twice.
So you started on those tracks requiring assembly last time for another build?
Oh, no, 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 no. Those tracks are these. And these are for the front of the vehicle. Those are all I'm making, aside from the 7 needed for the turret later on. But those are indicative of the kit's track. And no, I will not be putting myself through that fresh hell.
Almanac said makes more sense.
Where did that go? Damn it. That could not have gone far.
Almanac said those vents looks really good.
Thank you, Takom, for making something that should have just been one piece into 3 pieces. Your infinite wisdom baffles the ever-living fuck out of me on this kit. It's the 3rd piece I've lost, the 2nd one I've had to reconstruct. I just saw it falling down the vehicle and then... poof. I'm not even going to bother looking for it on the carpet. That even had glue on it.
Almanac said, hey, now you get the joy of Scratch building half your pre-made kit.
Right? Which most people apparently get their rocks off doing that anyway, because no kit is ever good enough for them. Go on to the missing links forums, you'll see that left and right. Well, I've got the latest Meng kit, but it's not good enough for me, so I'm going to rebuild most of it. Good thing it's literally just a wedge of plastic. Let's do that again, shall we? That was such a wonderful adventure. Here's the sequel. Will I persevere? Or will this model become the first tiger to make it into orbit? Oh.
Almanac said then why not scratch build the entire thing and claim credit for every aspect.
But I think you can see why I'm not trying to assemble this whole rinky-dink little piece of shit in one shot. And then glue it on. Because trying to hold this while you're doing that is even more impossible.
Almanac said boom. Surprise.
Yeah, I still haven't decided on what 3D printer I want to get to replace the one that just stopped working, period. And it wasn't a case of a broken screen or something, it's the actual electrical components just stopped working. To even get it to turn over sometimes, I'd have to push the on-off switch like 10 times. And then one day I was doing a print, I hadn't shut it off, and started the print 3 or 4 layers in. Just cut out.
Almanac's ask still going resin?
Yeah, I have an FDM printer. I just really do not like the idea of leaving something that heats up unattended for gross parts of the day while I'm at work. Alright, next page. I already glued the driver's hatches on, because like I said, I'm not dealing with all this, since the hatches are shut anyway. Did this skip a page? $204, okay, it's just... Alright, anyway, so I need S17.
Almanac's asked what? Cutting corners?
No, not cutting corners so much as, saving sanity.
Almanac said just rebel rousing.
I know.
Don't take me too serious.
No, you're good. I've got a pretty good beat on when you're being sarcastic. Don't worry about that. But it's just, it is good to have someone to converse with is all. That's a wing nut. Don't want to trim that off. Okay. This I can trim up. So, did you follow, or do you know Alex? He's one of my other viewers. He's also from Denmark. Goes by Leopard 2A7DK, I believe. Or are you just both happen to be from Denmark? I figured as much. Okay. I need to figure out 204 millimeters in inches. Eight inches. I like the copper wire this company uses. The dragon stuff is extremely stiff, hard to bend. No, I get what you're saying. Oh, you're from here. Do you know this person? I just didn't know if he was an associate of yours that keyed you in onto my channel because of shared interest. That's all. Gotta make two of these, so I'm just trying to get these the exact length. Allie, why did you leave your box? A little problem? We're not gonna have trouble, are we? What are we doing? A lot of cat interruptions this early in the stream. We started with a cat on the table. Allie, box. Allie, come on. Good girl. So, let's get the ends of those. My next stream day after today will be Sunday. And we're still at 969 subs. So we're not building the Hummel just yet. We still have 31 subs to go. I might even make it 34 to allow for a variance of people who like to sub, then unsub, then sub, then unsub. I just want to be sure it's a solid 1,000. You know, I don't want to start the build and then have 20 people drop off. But yeah, I did gain 4 or 5 more over the course of the week, so that's good, and I appreciate that. If you are one of the new subs from this week, welcome, thank you. And I hope I'm able to keep you entertained in as what little manner as possible. When I finish the tiger, depending on where we are on subs though, I'm going to do a bit of a palette cleanser build. The 32nd scale TIE Fighter. This is just the cockpit ball. Okay, let's flare these a little bit. Feels like there might be a little bit of flashing in there. Just so they'll accept the wire a little bit easier. I know I could be grumpy at times. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for me. Sometimes I want to try and be better about it, but other times I can't help but just be like, you know what? Fuck it. If people don't like it, that's their problem, not mine. I mean, I'm 50. I really don't think I've got to impress many people anymore. And sometimes I wouldn't even consider it being grumpy. More like I have a low tolerance for bullshit, and I will call it out as I see it. So when we're talking like model techniques and stuff like that, you know, I'm not some spring chicken modeler that's just starting. And I see a lot of what I call bullshit in various techniques and kind of tools and stuff that are coming around now, right? Like there's a guy out there just did a video the other day, oh, this is how important your primer is to your color, you know. And it's one thing if you're shooting full opacity, right? A few minutes into the video he goes, now I'm spraying these thinner. So in other words, you're not going full opacity, you're allowing the primer to show through your paint, which means your paint's not on properly. So it's not so much your primer is influencing your paint color, it's that you're just allowing the primer to show through, thereby shifting your paint color. He's not inherently wrong in that, where say you're spraying red. Red is a translucent color. Not transparent, translucent. You can see through it a little bit. You know? Whether it be gloss or flat, red's a pretty thin color. So yes, your primer can influence your color on that. But when you're doing dark yellow, and you're going to mist it over black, yeah, it's going to come out looking a little more olive. Or if you do it over a dark brown, you know, that will influence it. But if you're going for full saturation, that's different. I go for full saturation. Because I like to start my models out looking how they would new, and then try and bring them down in tone using the weathering stuff. And I still say my M60 is a really good example of that, in how it looked factory new, you know. And then as I weathered it and washed it and wore it down, the paint itself got desaturated. It doesn't look as bright as it did when I painted it. And to me, that feels more natural than all this other stuff. But I'm also not going to intrude on that person's channel and go, I call bullshit on what you're describing. That's for other people to say, neither here nor there. You know? He can have his views. I can choose not to agree with them. I try and keep it from that. As you've noticed, there's other viewers that try and guide things that way. And I really do try and keep it from that. To sum my view up, I want the children to leave, and I want the adults back in charge. And right now we got nothing but children. 80 and 90-year-old children. And that's how I look at it. Trying to get all the other stuff glued on first, because there's small bits that get glued on with these that hold it in place. But that's also something I ask of my viewers, is don't bring the politics in here. Because I've seen a lot of channels, you know, people that build and paint figures and stuff that I enjoyed. I have removed myself from their channels because they start bringing their personal politics into the hobby, but in a very negative way. It's like, I don't care if you're blue, purple, red, green, yellow, whatever. I don't care what color your flag is that you've got in your bio. I don't care any of that. Are you a good person? Or are you just constantly screaming and bitching about how life is so unfair for you when it might be you that's causing your own personal issues? Because I know I cause most of my personal issues. There's no grand conspiracy out there making everybody hate me. If I got a problem with people, it's because I caused it. But I'm also not going to stop that from letting me live my life. But if you come in swinging that energy around, I'm going to throw that energy right back. Ah, shit. Glued you on too early. These have got to go on first. Alright, so I need E15 times 4. Okay, hold on. See. Okay, let me get through all this. I don't know why she stopped talking. Yeah, I'm staying away from that nonsense with a 30-foot pole. Only because I cannot and will not agree with what transpired to get that person in charge. But that's, again, neither here nor there. That is a blatant failure of our electoral system, and it's been shown.
Oh, Takom, nice.
Hey, Ermin. Yeah, Takom makes good kits, but they do a lot of needlessly small parts. Okay. Get you over here.
Almanax asks, remaking another one?
Do what?
Lemon Rager said, I just got my Takom T57 in the mail.
Remaking another what?
Almanac said needlessly small parts split into 3.
Yes. No, I'm not remaking one, even though I almost had to do one of these before. I probably should have used super glue, to be honest. But I need the wiggle room. I am going to super glue the cable into its holders. There's that one. And that one. And before I even try fighting it into the 2 little holders back here, I want to get this other piece glued up front. These in there. Probably means I'm going to have to put the barrel cleaning rods on with super glue. But that's fine, that's fine. I just wish that some kind of picture or something of 007's, you know, would show up that showed it before being destroyed.
What did they put into the water over on HBO Max? A new season of The Pit for the 3rd year running? Don't they know they are a streamer? They are supposed to have 4 to 5 years between seasons like Disney Plus.
I don't even know what The Pit is. So, yeah. I turned on HBO Max for the first time in months last night, trying to see if there was anything worth watching. Didn't find anything, so I turned it off. But that's only while I was waiting for Stalker 2 to finish updating.
Stream Elements said check out my YouTube page at. Almanac said an absolutely amazing medical show.
Oh, is that the new ER with the same guy from ER in it? Basically, from what I've seen. It's ER with more grit. It's like Tom Cruise with more planes. there. To be honest, we probably won't be starting the T95 builds until more well into the winter, because that's a build that's going to require a lot more downtime, which I think I'll have more of in the winter.
Almanac said, yeah. Every season is one ship, and every episode covers 1 hour in real time, kinda like 24 did.
I'd start to worry if I see recurring characters like Ming Na Wen and other ER characters show up. Because that's too on the nose, if you know what I mean. Alright, now that we've did... Oh, we gotta do these back here real quick, too. E46. And which streaming service is it? I think it's Disney Plus. They're actually creating other streaming channels within their own service that you have to pay more. It's like, we really are back to cable, aren't we, guys? Damn it.
Almanac said, I thought that was Amazon Prime.
No, Amazon... God damn it. Amazon just has different... Don't you dare go down in that fucking bottle. Different levels that you can buy. So it's like, okay, I'm paying for it. I've been paying for it since the beginning, so I wouldn't get commercials. But now I have commercials again. But you want me to pay more for the next version that doesn't have commercials. Or no, the next one will have less commercials. But then there's the Ultimate Edition that only has one commercial break per 3 movies you watch. And then there's the final version for now that only plays 1 commercial a day. So what's the point? The point of all this shit was we didn't want commercials and we paid for it so we wouldn't get commercials. But now, we're getting commercials whether we pay for it or not, and if we don't want commercials, we gotta pay more anyway. Doesn't something seem inherently wrong with that to anybody? I think it was Paramount Plus, honestly. That was doing the multiple channels. It was either Paramount Plus or Disney Plus. It was one of the plus things. You know, double plus good, eh? For anyone who's read or seen 1984, that ought to really ring well with you.
Almanac said what? Paramount doing something sketchy? Say it ain't so.
The real question is, when haven't they? I really don't need this shit taken off flying. Yeah, I managed to find that TIE Fighter kit on eBay for like $50. Here locally, at most shops, it's going for $100. Especially like the Michael's Arts and Crafts.
Almanac asks, is this model intended as a standalone build or part of a diorama?
It's going to be standalone. I originally wanted to do a joined scene with the dragon one, because the dragon one represents one of the first tigers ever fielded, and this one represents one of the last ones ever fielded in terms of its design and the way it's equipped. So I thought like an Alpha Omega build would be kind of neat. But then I started looking at what all that entailed, the size of the base and things like that, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna make them separate. I might give this one a little hedgerow on one side, since it was in that kind of bocage area. Yeah, not every model needs a diorama. I think a lot of modelers who start in the hobby kind of get that idea in their head that they want to do the dioramas all the time, which is fine. If you want to make that your thing, that's great. But sometimes all it needs is a subtle little base to give the vehicle some context. You know, that's sometimes all you need.
Almanac said, I enjoyed your smoking German diorama build.
Oh, the little yeah, that's not a diorama, it's just the figure. I've got a larger scene in mind with that figure in 35th scale with the half track that I will get back to. Just like I said before, it's a lot of mental energy lately for me. Come on. Damn it. You fucker. That's not an excuse or anything, but yeah, it's taking me a bit more to just kind of sit down and gather the thoughts to consider what I want to work on for the day. And while that's no excuse for you guys, it's just the simple fact of the matter for me, you know. While this is a hobby that I love, I can't force myself to do it when the brain ain't willing. There we go. Yeah, something felt funny to me when I was gluing these together. I'm like, wait a minute, those need something else. And there are now definitively 2 working Tiger 1s in the world. The French Museum's is up and running. The lower hull has been seen and heard moving under its own power. Supposedly there's one in another museum.
Kind of forgot it all in the 30 years away from the hobby.
You know, nothing's changed. The basic fundamentals of every kit, nothing's changed. This stuff was around 30 years ago, the little photo etch like this. Have kits become more parts intensive? Yes. Yes, they have. But the old kits from 30 years ago are still out there, so if you're feeling overwhelmed, you can still get what you were used to. In terms of supplies, materials, and techniques, that's a bit different. I feel they're being needlessly enforced in terms of the marketing and the push behind certain things and certain talents, for lack of a better word. Put it this way. I'm not going to tell you to use something unless I've used it and had satisfactory results. But I'm also not going to tell you to not use something if you feel that works for you. Right? We all have certain things we look for in what we use and how we do things. If I find something that's not intuitive, I'm sorry, I'm not going to use it. And a lot of the big brand stuff out there lately does not feel intuitive to how things work. I'm not about to rebuy all my paints and supplies because some new manufacturer came out that you have to use their so-called own thinners with when you're trying to use their so-called acrylics. And their acrylics don't clean with water. To me, that's not intuitive. That is making things more specialized in that I need to buy more of your stuff to use my stuff. Nope. H1. Okay, we are almost done with assembly of the upper hull. We just have the tools, some stuff back here, the driver's viewport.
Almanac said Mr. Thinner with leveler generally works with all my paints.
Yeah, but you don't need to use that. Like, say you have the water range, right? Their stuff generally does thin. Like, you can clean your brushes with water. If you needed to, you could spray it by adding a little water. You know, stuff like that. What I'm talking about is there's another company out there. You know, it's kind of named after a very popular rifle. And it started by another one that was named after a particular Russian aircraft company. You know. Anyway. But I bought some of their paints and tried them out once. The only time I've wasted money on their product. I couldn't brush it. It was like brushing unthinned guns lacquer. And when I went and tried to clean it off my brush, water wouldn't clean it. Even though it was very clearly touted as an acrylic, which meant it should have at least reduced with water in some capacity to clean off my brush. But no, you have to buy their alcohol-based thinner. Or use like 90% or 80% isopropyl in order to clean your stuff or spray it if you have to. So you have to buy yet another thing to make it work. To me, that's not intuitive of the hobby. I should be able to buy a paint with the understanding that it's an acrylic and use it like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other acrylics that I have on my desk that all paint the same way, that all wash up the same way, and they all spray the same way. Yet this one company that's actually 3 companies all under a banner of one person, you know, expect me to shell out more money in an already expensive hobby just to use their shit. And then they have to reformulate their shit every few years because obviously they found a problem with their original formula. Why else would you reformulate your paint? Do I really have to say who it is?
Almanac said no.
There you go.
I'll just say Spanish fly and leave it at that.
But that's just it. That's not good because Vallejo, however you want to pronounce it, is also a Spanish company, but their acrylics work intuitively, just like everybody else's acrylics out there. Oh my god, they clean up with water? They brush on really smooth for what they are? Heaven forbid! So, unfortunately, you really can't put it all under that Spanish brand or Spanish school umbrella.
Almanac said that
They
there
are.
about 3 brands under one gun.
MiG started MiG Productions back in the early 2000s. I want to say about 2001, 2002. There was an issue in his personal life, or something happened, which required him to sell said company or lose stewardship over it, thus leading to the creation of AK Interactive. And again, there was something that happened that split off, which then led to the creation of Ammo. Okay? And since that time...
That means Vallejo was not 3 brands under one guy.
No, I know. But they're part of the Spanish school in terms of where the paints and products are produced. So, Vallejo, to me, I like them better. Because they're pretty much, we are what we say on the tin. You know? But all the others, yeah, they are 3 companies under one guy, triple dipping it now. And nah, I've tried certain products from the company to see if maybe something changed or maybe this or that. No, I'm not spending good money after bad on that one. I don't care what all the other people out there say. It's shit product. Especially if you're not pursuing to mimic somebody else's specific style of doing things. Because that's the other issue, is all those products work if you're using them to recreate exactly what somebody else has done, right? I'm not. I have my own look that I have. I have a specific set of products that I use that I like to achieve that look. And there are times where I will branch out and kind of do something a little different. But I'll at least give it a shot.
Almanac said, I am a Mr. Color guy. That what we used 40 years ago. It's what I use today.
Oh yeah, Mr. Color and Tamiya are probably the 2 most consistent paint brands out there in terms of overall quality and color. But as of today, they're also probably some of the oldest. Unfortunately, Poly S as a product and Flowquill no longer exist. Same with Testers, because all 3 got bought up by Rust-Oleum, and then the brands were extinguished. I still have some of their paints. We're talking paints that are over 40 years old, and they still work. I used some on the Dragonfly, which I'll probably get to finishing here in the next couple weeks. And they sprayed remarkably well for their age. Meanwhile, I've had other paints from other brands that have actually gone crap within 3 to 5 years of opening. And I store them in the exact same conditions, so I don't know. I don't think it's me doing something wrong there. Okay. Alright, you go there. Yep, there's your spacer. Alright. I mean, heck, you can barely buy a Citadel paint these days without it being bad on the shelf. E45, E29. But like even on this build, you know, I could bust out the usual Tamiya paints, stay in my comfort zone with them. I'm gonna try some of these out. You know? See how they go. Do I think their dark yellow might be a little dark? Possibly. I haven't shaken it up fully. But I want to try a couple things that are not unusual for me, but not what I typically do. And see what kind of different result I can get, you know? See if I can breathe a little more visual life into basically a box on tracks without going into the ridiculously contrasty modulation type stuff. That's where things kind of start getting a little weird looking. Because you're getting unnatural highlights, unnatural shadows.
Colorworks airbrush paints a try, just because it is getting more and more difficult to get Mr. Color solvent-based acrylic lacquer paints in Denmark.
Yeah, a lot of non-Asian countries are really cracking down on the import of lacquer paints. You know, for environmental reasons. Or, you know, for your elfin safety, eh? It's not elfy for you. We gotta be nannies.
Almanac said EU has a hate boner for anything not water-based.
You are not wrong there, to be honest. And even the stuff that is water-based that they can't control, like Tamiya, they still have a hate boner for. I don't know how many times that shit's been relabeled over the years just to get through customs and control here. There we go. So far, not radically much for a tiger, you know, but where you can make this tank shy is really in its paint job. The thing is, it's the nature of the vehicle. The only known pictures of it are like a year or two after its destruction, after it's been stripped of all the sheet metal too. That's why I'm keeping the damage kind of light, and just to give it a little bit of attitude and life. I'm not really doing a lot to, you know, beat the ever-living hell out of it. I might dent up the heat shields a little bit with a small nail tool I've got, and then before I glue the exhaust on, I want to really kind of dirty up this area here from where the exhaust would have been blowing out. And it's easier without the shrouds on. Okay, so J9, 10, 7, 8. Driver's armored stuff here. I know the instructions say not to glue it, but I'm at least going to glue the bottom one in. I'm gonna glue them in the open position. I'll probably have to go back with a brush after painting anyway and paint the glass. Unless they're RC, I really don't play with my models after I build them. I admire them. I look at them. I look at the aspects of them that I'm happy with to try and remember what I did and figure out how I can do it better or recreate it if I need to. You bugger. Oh, geez, you can't even see the vision glass in there. But my wife did me a favor today. She went out and got me the wooden dowels I need for the axles on the Aliens Colony truck. So when I feel that I've got enough room on my desk to build that, I can. We have Lupu lurking.
Lupu the Mad 2 said, yes, I'm here.
Just saying hi. Aside from a piece that goes here,
Lupu the Mad 2 said, hello.
And the exhaust here, there's really not much else to add. I think we start on the turret next. We do! The turret hatches will be open, but they'll have crew sticking out of them. I'm not going to worry about the breach or any of that other crap, because you're not going to see it. Alright, so we need this roof. And G2 number 1 for the hatch. I'm still trying to figure out the difference between these two hatches, and I can't see one. The riveting looks the same. Come on. You know, all the riveting looks the same, the strap looks the same. On the inside, the mechanisms look the same. I don't know. So that means I can throw this one out. I learned long ago to extinguish that part in the back of my head that keeps saying, ooh, I'm going to save that part for later. That's going to come in handy on another build. You'll never get to that other build. Throw it out. If it's that important, you'll find another way to do it later. U11, U16. There's more important things to do with your time than spend it hoarding trees of model parts that you'll probably forget you had in 6 months.
Lupu the Mad 2 said use it for cathartic plastic breaking before throwing it out.
There is that. The
Elma
hoarder
said
is...
the hoarder is strong in this one.
The hoarder is strong in this one. The only caveat I'll give for that is things like Gundam, Frame Arms Girls, things like that, where there's optional parts for the same figure. Then yes, have an organized system of categorizing those parts once you've completed the model. So if you do want to change it up, you can. But still get rid of the sprues in the box. Okay, I'm just going to cut this off here, because it's getting in the way. Anyway. U16. There it is.
Luke the Mad 2 said, yeah, I have an extra entire massive tail for a Fox Girl kit.
See what I mean? Is it the Kotobukiya one? Or is it one of the MS Girl or something like that?
Lupu the Mad 2 said, I'll double check.
Because I've got like 3 boxes full of all the spare optional parts for a lot of the figures like that I've built. And I think I have enough parts now I could build an entire Hresvelger from Frame Arms Girls if I wanted to, with minus the armor.
Lupu the
Okay.
Mad 2 said Kotobukiya Arcanadia Yukumo.
I almost got that one. Okay. Do we want to go with the fume extractor cover or the fume extractor itself showing? The cover adds more detail.
Said I like fluffy Fox Girls,
Oh yeah.
so it was a clear choice for me.
I wanted to get the Lamia kit they did, but I can never find it in stock anywhere. And right now I'm really trying to save up for a new printer.
Lupu the Mad 2 said anime girl kits tend to have a lot of options, it seems.
Oh, they do. Or a lot of variations. Aside...
Said, check out my YouTube page app.
Aside from the latest version where she's in the Chinese dress, I have all the Hresvelger kits. And, yeah. There's a lot of variation within that one character alone. Takom, we are not playing Replace the Part again.
Lupu the Mad 2 said, yeah, the Yukumo kit I have comes in a different The Japanese have perfected the way to get nerds to pay for things.
Yeah, Almanacs, you're not wrong.
Almanac said, but anime girls apparently also murders your algorithm.
Yeah, it's like, they could be non-exploitative, you know, they could be like PG-13 at the worst. And yet, either YouTube doesn't put it out there on the algorithm, or random dickheads come in and start calling you things because you've built a plastic model of a fictional girl that's whatever, you know? It's like, now I know how Nuxanor feels. Okay. I am not going to mount you to the turret until I have that roof glued on.
Luke with a mad 2 said yeah, the Yakumo is about as safe for work as it gets. People would definitely still be stupid about it.
Shoot, I've got the Grande Scale Stylet and the Gorai, and people still tried being stupid about it. It's like, every time they do that, you just want to, you wish you could just look at them and go, project much? If that's where your mind goes when you see it, where's the problem? I need the T-sprue. T25. I'm probably gonna go.
Said turntable is being choppy in movement.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's fully charged. It just could be the size of Ecto. That's the Polar Lights kit. I also have the Ertl Ecto 1A, and I've done a combination of the two to do the Afterlife version, but I haven't finished that up yet.
Luke with a mad 2 said, oh well, things do weird stuff sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I got it for $10 off Amazon. What can you do? It's better than the other one I had that was dying on me. And way too tall. This one's a much more low-profile one. Yeah, I think we're just going to do the uncovered one because they are getting ready to go into combat the way I've got it planned out.
Luke with a mad 2 said fair.
Wow, what is with the lag on things lately? My connection's fine. But yeah, there's a lot of things that make it trying. Yeah, between the times you guys type something and the time it actually comes through on the text-to-speech. And it landed bread side, or buttered side down. Of course it did. Come on. It's got 6 holes all the way through, yet only 2 to align it. I am about to just cut these 2 little pegs off and line it up as best I can. Well, it doesn't line up that way. Let's try it the other way. Whatever, it looks like the holes don't line up with the mounts anyway. Whatever. And I need U14. Sorry, girl, I didn't mean to shock you awake. Yeah. Hello, pretty kitty.
Almanac said was that your 17-year-old Valley Girl impression? Face with tears of joy emoji.
Do what now? Was it when I was talking to my cat?
Almanac said that whatever.
Oh. You'll find I'll just throw a weird inflection on things when I talk anyway. I'm really strange like that. Okay. So there's the loader's hatch. But we've been at this for an hour and 23. Got a lot further than we did last time we worked on it. I'm going to take a move around break real quick, get something to drink. I'll be back in a few minutes. Alright, we're back. Got me a water bottle.
Almanac said.
Okay. What does that translate to? So it's telling me to use... So they give you two Commander's Cupolas, right? Main difference? One has water runoff channels from around the hatch. Ah. The clear parts.
Almanac said Okiri.
Okay. Yeah, for some reason the computer couldn't translate it because it didn't know how to say it. So, I downloaded The Cost of Hope for Stalker 2 last night. I'd already started a new mission anyway. I'm trying to get all the different endings. I've gotten the Straylock ending. I've got the Scar ending. I'm going for the Ward ending this time. And after that, I'm going to go for the Skiff ending. But this new add-on for it opens up Lemansk, the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, and the Iron Forest finally. And there was an update right before this, which has you exploring the old X-18 lab from the first game again. At some point, it would be neat if they were to redo the first 3 games in their entirety, but use this new engine. Almost all the assets are there. There's a couple different underground labs that would still need to be completed, but almost all the assets are there to be able to do that. This one goes here. Okay. And then I just have to hold on to this because I need that singular piece of plastic, clear plastic rod there for the taillight. That goes inside this little bracket right here. That's not going to be fun. Yeah, it's going to be fun to be able to go back to the Chernobyl power plant in-game. Because it's the one thing that people were hoping for when they first brought the game out a couple years ago. And it's been kind of a bummer that we know the structure was there, we know the assets were there in the game, but we couldn't get to them. They weren't opened up yet. I mean, here you've got a game called Heart of Chernobyl, and yet there's no Chernobyl in it. You know, it would be kind of like buying a box of Fruit Loops and finding Cheerios inside. They look the same, they sure as hell don't taste the same. Oh, good lord. I'm just gonna clean all these up first now.
Almanac said, kinda like the feeling I was left with after watching the 2014 remake of RoboCop. Same title, but definitely not the same movie.
No, that doesn't necessarily mean it was a bad film either. And I kind of appreciate it for that. Because I'm tired of the scene-for-scene remakes. And it was different enough to be enjoyable on its own. Trying to hold it up against the Peter Weller film from '87, nah, it's never going to be good enough. Just like Half-Life 3, there's no point in making it now because it will never, ever live up to the hype surrounding it. Stalker 2 had kind of that same problem.
Almanac said, oh, but it was a bad movie. At least to me.
No, I didn't think it was bad, but then again, I've only ever seen the rated R version, not the PG-13 one that was released. I can see how some wouldn't like it because of how it deviated, but at the same time, I'm glad it deviated like that. Or else it really could have been a boring remake. Especially once you realize the movie was only made so the film company could keep their copyright over that title and somebody else couldn't take it from them. That's why you periodically have these kind of shits pop up anyway. If it weren't for that, whatever clause that is now, we wouldn't have anywhere near the amount of remakes and reboots and sequels that we have today.
Almanac said it lost its American Jesus theme at the core of the story. It became a generic sci-fi action film.
It didn't need it. That's the story Verhoeven was trying to tell. And he told it. And even RoboCop 2, Irvin Kershner was trying to tell a completely different kind of story. And I appreciated RoboCop 2 for what it was. This one...
Said, yeah, I recognize it was just a copyright extender.
But this one, at least, they tried to do something different with the character. And they made it more about retaining your humanity and your ability. Kind of like the guy that was playing the guitar earlier in the film that Gary Oldman was talking to in counseling. I felt it still held on to the idea of Murphy keeping his humanity after all of that. That was brought more to the front than the whole American Jesus violence thing. Did my camera get moved when the cat got up here? I think so. There we go. Okay. So the one I need here is T26. That one will be E13. That one's T26. Oh, RoboCop 3 is definitely the worst. You know, there's people out there that act like the new one is worse than anything. No. RoboCop 3 is absolutely terrible. I think the main thing that helped RoboCop 3 not work was the fact that it had a TV series come out at the same time, which kind of kidified the character. And the studio was then held to that expectation. E13 there and there. And then there was also the 4-part miniseries for the Sci-Fi Channel, where they had the 2 RoboCops. I think the overall series is called RoboCop Prime Directives. And apparently there's a new streaming movie that's being made that's supposed to be based on the Peter Weller character. I don't know. We'll see. I would really like to see some of the books that have been written in the past 30 or 40 years get more on-screen translations. I think that's why Hail Mary did so well in today's climate, is that it was, for the most part, unique. In that it wasn't a sequel, it wasn't a reboot, it was a fresh story, and that's what people want now.
Almanac said it certainly also did not help that RoboCop and RoboCop 2 were R-rated, but RoboCop 3 suddenly went PG-13.
That was because of the TV series, the Canadian series, that really kidified the show. That's where all the images of RoboCop driving an early 90s Mustang came from, is that TV show. Now the other fun part. We really have to build the entire hatch. T29. RoboCop 2 was supposed to be a lot nastier, too, than it was. I remember seeing that in theaters, though. But I also saw Hardware and Split Second and a lot of other really oddball films for the 90s in theaters. Let me tell you, hearing Public Image Limited and 5.1 surround sound was fucking awesome. That is a good part of it, Almanacs. You're not wrong. And that's going to continue to increase in terms of like how people take on new movies and stuff. But again, that feeds right back to why I think Project Hail Mary fared so well, in that it was a new story. It wasn't Star Wars for the umpteenth time. You know, it was something fresh. Like any other film, if you sat down long enough, you could pick it apart if you wanted to, but there's no reason to. It exists in its own world. If you've read the book, that gives you a different insight, but that's about it. It's not like it's only ever been a book for 30 years, and you're... I mean, yeah, it was a book, but you're not basing every single aspect of how you look at it on that. I think I'm going to leave this hatch out until after I get the cupola mounted to the vehicle. I'm not going to bother with the little...
Mad 2 said, I was at the cinema last weekend and watched the first of the new two-part De Gaulle movies.
De Gaulle or Dune?
Lupu the Mad 2 said was good.
There's movies about Charles de Gaulle? I mean, I'm all for French history, but, I mean...
Lupu the Mad 2 said, of course there is.
I have not seen any marketing for any of that over here. How did I get glue there?
Lupu the Mad too said the French has culture.
I know, I've been to France.
Lupu the Mad too said I didn't either. My mother found it and we went and watched it. Almanac said, but even within Star Wars they could make amazing stories. If only the stories they told were honest to the world within which they were told. Same as RoboCop 2.
Star Wars has the same problem Star Trek does now as far as writing. The people trying to create it... The people trying to create it are writing fan fiction. Rogue One didn't feel like fan fiction. It felt like a legit, here is what happened right before the big shit started in Episode 4. Right? It didn't break the world it lived in. The problem with Star Wars and Star Trek now is people have no regard for the world already established, for one, so there's that. But they are unable to think of anything that doesn't require Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, any of that, right? Rogue One didn't need any of that. There were little cameos by R2 and 3PO. That was about it. Oh, and that one of Leia at the very, very end. But in everything has to be related to everything else now. And we talked about this before. Why do we have a character named after Khan in Strange New Worlds when, according to the timeline they exist in, the Botany Bay hasn't even been discovered yet? So what is the importance of having this character related to Khan on the crew of the Enterprise when the character has no importance in the story yet? It's fan bullshit. There's nothing new. And then I've been reading some of the backlash on the stupid puppet episode that came out. Yeah, it breaks the world that it exists in. Did Star Trek have some goofy shit? Yeah, everybody remembers the hopscotch episode from Deep Space Nine. Sorry, turning on my heater. That was Deep Space Nine's lowest point. Or even like the serial black and white episodes from Voyager. Right? But at the same time, the goofiest Star Trek episodes in the past...
This is why I take issue with Dragon Ball Super rather than Dragon Ball GT. Super breaks the timeline of the original manga, while it is considered canon, while GT isn't canon, but is taking place in a part of the timeline.
I stopped watching Dragon Ball when Vegeta had a mustache. But they're trying to do things now with Trek that break the world it lives in. And you want to redo Trek? Here's what you do. Kind of go back to what made it work. How many of you watched Star Trek The Next Generation when it was new? When it was fresh back in 87, 88. I did. I thought it was weird at first. The styling was very 80s, late 80s, early 90s TV. But aside from one cameo by McCoy to tie the two series together, there was nothing else in Star Trek The Next Generation that tied it to the original series. They reused ship models because cheap, you know, they had to. But outside of that, you didn't have a weekly recurring character from the original series. You didn't have any of that shit. There was no Spock until much later in the series, when the series was already standing on its own. And there's always been a little bit of trade and capitalism in Star Trek. Deep Space Nine even showed it. There's always been commerce and trade, but within humanity,
Almanac
no.
said same with the first seasons of Mandalorian, original stories with interesting characters in an unimportant corner of the universe. But suddenly everything became fan service and Skywalker-centric. Sam Rout Marvel is going with Doomsday. Oh crap, people hate all the new movies and characters, quick. Dust off the first batch of characters and pay the actors ungodly amounts of money.
You're not wrong.
Even though we already killed most of them.
You are not wrong in that. But yeah, that's what's killing Star Trek, and that's what's killing Star Wars and Marvel and everything else, is this reliance on only what came before.
Quite impressive.
Boba Fett was destroyed when they overdubbed his voice with Tamora Morrison. Don't get me wrong, I like the actor. I like what he brings to the clones and the other things that he plays. So, Almanacs, you spend a lot of time in Japan, but you're from Denmark, right? So when you're in Japan, do you suddenly put on a Japanese accent because you're there? Don't think so. You speak the language, obviously, but you don't magically put on the stereotypical accent.
Almanac
Why?
said Boba Fett was just horrendous.
Yeah, why in the fuck does Boba Fett, who did not grow up in the same environment his father did, Jango, have Jango's voice? And by that, I mean the exact accent. My parents are from New Jersey.
Said, oh yeah, the re-edit of the original trilogy
So,
was just a weird choice.
By that logic, I should be talking like this all the time. You know, I should be saying New Jersey. You know, I shouldn't be able to talk how I want. I should be specifically talking like I'm from New Jersey. No, I don't talk like that. So why is Boba Fett in Empire Strikes Back a character who did not grow up in that exact same environment, sounding like his father? You see where I'm going at with this? The only way it works now is the fact that they have actually cast Tamora as Boba Fett. But that's because you have the actor playing him now. They could have easily cast that other kid from episode 2 to play Boba Fett, which would have actually made more sense.
Check out my YouTube page out.
Okay. And honestly, the initial performance by that voice actor for Boba Fett was more intimidating, you know? A lot drier.
Luke with a Mad 2 said, but yeah, the fact that we can't really let a franchise end nowadays is quite sad.
Oh, I know. And yeah. It is sad. Well, look at the Dune series as well. Ugh. I've read the original Herbert books. That's where they stop for me. None of this mixed writing with Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson. All that crap. Only Frank Herbert. Okay, how much of the breach am I actually going to need for this to work? Can I...
Mad 2 said going back to Dragon Ball, since it was my introduction to manga, the original 42 volumes is near perfect. Almanac said, well, you kind of put on a Japanese accent when speaking Japanese English loan words, because they only exist in Japanese with Japanese pronunciation, but when speaking English, it is with my own accent, not any Japanese accents.
Well, that would be like... Okay, that's the wrong example. So your family's from Denmark, but then say your parents moved to the US. And then you're born over here and you're raised in the US. It's understandable that your parents will still have a Danish accent when they speak. But you, once you become an adult, really wouldn't have one. Unless you only ever spoke to your parents. Ever. But because you're interacting with other people, you're gonna pick up on that. So by the time you're in your teenage years, you would not have a trace of a Danish accent. That's what I'm getting at. And yeah, the stupidity with Boba Fett and Empire Strikes Back is an example of how just dumb that is. Even back in, what was it, 2005 or 6?
Almanac said
When they released the original trilogy on DVD? Way back when? You know, after they butchered it, putting Hayden Christensen in it.
The Mad 2 said if you were in a Danish-American community, it would end up as some weird mix. But
yeah.
Yes, you would speak American.
But you'd have to be surrounded by an almost strictly Danish population in order to maintain that accent. You wouldn't maintain it being on your own. But yeah, everybody I think is in agreement. We're just getting sick of this shit. Oh, did I say that out loud? And part of the problem, at least with Star Wars, before George sold it, is nobody was around to say, George? That doesn't make sense. As there would be, you know, back in the day. Because in the first 3 films, he had his wife, he had other people doing the directing and the editing. Then the prequels happened. Which, they're not terrible. Red Letter Media kind of made it a thing to bash on them.
Lupu the Mad 2 said anyways, at least we can have legacy media around still, right? And then we kill off physical media.
Mm-hmm. That's why as soon as I found hardware for sale on Blu-ray, I bought it. If you've not seen that film, I recommend you see it as soon as possible.
Almanac said just watching the 2014 RoboCop remake. God, it had shit CGI and way too much of it.
The thing is, again, I think it was okay. It could have been a lot worse.
Lupu the Mad 2 said of the sequels, I have only watched episode 7, and my only thought when I exited the cinema was, that was just a reflavored episode 4.
And it's fine that it is a remade episode 4. You know, they played it safe. I understand that. The problem is what came after, because the way it ended, you still had all these new characters, right? You had new stuff. You had things you could try and get excited about. And then along comes episode 8, which takes every single one of those loose threads that were left for other writers and other directors to come in and have a little fun with and maybe make something good out of, right? And they're all bunched up and cut short. Sorry, making a Zimmerit plug for the Gunner's MG here, or the Loader's MG, because the Command Tiger had radios here. They took that out.
Said I am also measuring it by today's standards of CGI. Was probably good in 2014, but does not hold up well. Lupu the Mad 2 said yeah, it wasn't bad, it was just a bit of a shame to have it follow the same format.
But that's kind of what did episode 9 in, was episode 8 cut everything off And then episode 9, they had to do what they could. They really were, you know, trying to dig themselves out of a pretty deep fucking hole. I'm still not making excuses, I'm just explaining. And yeah, the only logical recourse was somehow Palpatine came back. That honestly is probably the best in-universe thing they could have done to make a workable story. Doesn't make it good, still means it's stupid.
Look who the Mad 2 said, but hey, at least we got solid memes out
We did get solid memes out of it. But in the end, yeah, it was shit.
Almanac said no. What did episode 9 and was somehow Palestine came back?
But it's the only way they could have pulled it out, too. Either that or go real hard into, well, they couldn't do Snoke because, oh, they killed him. You know? Anything that would have allowed them to make a broader story was destroyed in episode 7. The only other way they could have done it is a major time shift in where quite literally everybody's dead.
Luke who the Mad 2 said, somehow, Palpatine came back is $1 billion meme.
There was really no way to save your franchise after that. And then you have the Master of the Mystery Boxes come in to do what he always does. You know, don't pay attention to that. Let's just keep moving. Nope, don't look at that. We're done with that. Keep going. You know? Yeah, there was no saving that. But that's also goes back to what we were discussing in how
The way to save the franchise is to return to basics.
merchandising. Yeah. But that goes right back to what we were saying is how everything has to be related to everybody else. Everything's got to be Skywalker centric, or Kirk centric, or Spock centric, or Picard centric. You know, there was nothing wrong in trying to get a new story off the ground that didn't have any of the pre-existing characters. And they also fucked up the last and only time they were going to be able to get the original cast together
Almanac
once.
said, imagine if they had just had the barest minimum of a plan before launching that trilogy, instead of just saying, man, you figure it out to each director.
That's basically what they did. T15 and 16. Well, just like Michael Bay with the Transformers. After the third one, he was done. Right? Even before the third one, he was done.
Luke who the
But they
Mad
kept...
2 said this discussion reminds of the fact that Heihachi Mishima is unkillable, not for any plot reasons, but because the franchise hinges on him, his son, and his grandson.
What series is that?
Almanac said,
Why
I
does
have
that
still
sound
not
familiar?
watched all of episode 9.
It just ends up in a big pew-pew space battle and Wedge is in it for a few seconds. They actually managed to get Dennis Lawson to come out and do something.
M4JORH4V0K said George Lucas played it perfect. Sell it for a big bag, sit back and watch Disney drive it in the ground till they beg him to come back and fix it for another big bag, lol.
They haven't begged him back yet, though. There's been no announcements of George Lucas working on anything. Yes, and horses on top of a Star Destroyer. Yeah, yeah, uh-huh.
Luke who the Mad 2 said, I have only watched Bay Transformers 1 and 2. The first one was my favorite movie growing up.
The third one is a good finish to the first three films. You can tell Michael Bay listened to the feedback on the first two and actually did try and make something a bit more coherent. It was a good film. But you could tell by the time he was doing the fourth one, and especially the fifth one, he was done, and if he was asked to do a sixth one, he was destroying the Earth. And I got those on there backwards. Derp. Like, no shit, he was gonna blow up the Earth. So, how far did you get into Episode 9? Did they at least get to the Death Star wreck by the time you stopped watching? With the MacGuffin knife from thousands of years before the Death Star existed?
Almanac said no, but that was spoiled in the trailer here.
Oh, the horses on Star Destroyers were too, here.
Lupu the Mad 2 said, but yeah, the Tekken game series is hinged on the conflict within Heihachi Mishina's family. They have painted themselves into like four corners at the same time.
I haven't played Tekken since 1996. And the fact that I had to think that long, yeah. Yeah, I don't need any of that breach or anything. That might make good Machine and Krieger Greeblies, though. Because with the figure there and a figure there, you're not seeing that breach, and I'm not fighting around it.
The Mad 2 said it's okay. It's roughly the same situation. Fighty game. Son hates father.
I'm surprised they haven't tried to make a Killer Instinct movie. Because there is some Mortal Kombat level fun to be had there.
Lupu the Mad 2 said every. Lupu the Mad 2 said whoops.
So yeah, Almanacs, we are cutting corners on this Tiger. The only thing that cut more corners than me on this is the Battlestar Galactica production team. For all the paper they had to cut the corners off of.
Lupu the Mad 2 said, God damn it, thinking of fighting games and movie adaptations made me remember Dragon Ball Evolution.
I'm sorry. Could be worse. Could be Speed Racer.
Almanac
Or
said
Rampage.
papers. I love that in-universe joke.
You know, that movie with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and the Big White Gorilla was based on a fighting game. Just be glad we never got a sequel to the Van Damme Street Fighter movie. Instead, he spent that energy on the Universal Soldier films. Him and Dolph Lundgren.
Almanac said such a shame that hot steaming pile of garbage was Raul Julia's last film.
I know. Granted, Dolph Lundgren is enjoyable in what he's in.
Contribution to the action movie genre.
You know, he's kind of like Rutger Hauer. Nothing he particularly does is bad, but he's in some things that turn out badly. Yeah, I wish Raul Julia could have passed on a high note, with the Addams Family being like one of his final outings.
Lupu the Mad 2 said only movie eBay watched that I remember him being in is Expendables.
Red Scorpion, any of the Universal Soldier films, they somehow brought him back even though he got diced up in a wood chipper at the end of the first one. I think, or he got mulched, I know that. Somehow he came back, you know. He Palpatined. Okay, I gotta build the seats, but then I'm good to glue all this happy horse shit together.
Lupu the Mad 2 said hasn't stopped most action movie characters.
No, it really hasn't. And I forget the reasoning behind how they brought him back. It was like in the 6th or 7th one. He's still going up against Van Damme, too, so, yeah. Again, the first one was good. It should have stayed there. Hell, he was in the latest Masters of the Universe film.
Lupu the Mad 2 said my guess without any knowledge of the movies. Crystals.
No.
Said check out my YouTube page app.
I forget. That's how little attention I paid.
Lupu the Mad 2 said damn.
But yeah, he had a little nod cameo in the latest Masters of the Universe film as, you know, He-Man from the '87 film. Almost like they were stupidly hinting at a multiverse there. I'm tired of that shit too. And I bet you that's how Strange New Worlds is going to explain away the puppet episode. It's a multiverse!
Said multiverses need to die.
Yes, thank you.
Almanac said if you want to appreciate the Dolph more, go find the Dolph Punisher and the Hasselhoff Punisher movies. You will think him an Oscar level actor by comparison.
I actually enjoyed the Dolph Lundgren Punisher. It is what it is, you know?
But it sucks because it's the start of the newest DC multiverse attempt.
No, it's over. They're firing gun after the fucking dismal failure of Supergirl. They're actually trying to bring back Zack Snyder to wrap up his universe a bit better. Which, in the immortal words of Anthony Daniels, I heartily agree with. Because, as meme-worthy as some of the Zack Snyder stuff was, it was at least consistent. and you could see
Luke
which...
the Mad 2 said anyways, at least we got one good movie.
But you could see that you could tell which storyline they were going with in all of it. And honestly, I wanted to see it. I didn't like how Jared Leto did the Joker in Suicide Squad. But the way Snyder had him act, because you could tell he was being directed more by Zack Snyder. He wasn't just allowed to do whatever.
Said, I'm just happy we got a nice and not angry Superman.
There is that. But that's what I said. I think I know where Zack Snyder was trying to go with his... Did I just cut the wrong piece? Or did I cut it badly? Oh. I got a short shot. No, I didn't. Okay, it's just the way it's drawn in the instructions. There was a specific storyline he was going for, and we needed this particular Superman set up that way. I hate to explain it that way, but that's the best way I can do it, because it was taking a little bit from other sources. So word on the street has it Zack Snyder's going to come in and do Dark Knight Returns. The biggest issue I have with that is he already used the good part of Dark Knight Returns in Batman vs. Superman. So we're going to get a rehash of that fight with basically almost the same outcome.
Said it best. The Wizard of Oz did the multiverse first, and they did it best. The gays knew it, but we didn't listen. Let's just take the L and move on.
Yeah, I've never been one to really put much faith into what Ryan Reynolds says.
Almanac said Daredevil quote from the movie. Luke the Mad 2 said though to be fair, I don't think I have watched any Superman movies outside of Christopher Reeve's 1 and 2, and the newest one. Don't watch many movies in general.
I've seen the first 3 Reeves films. I didn't bother with the 4th one, the canon film. And I saw the new one in 2006, which was supposed to be a direct sequel to the Reeves films as well. But yeah, same. I really haven't seen... Outside of the Justice League, I haven't seen the Cavill films.
Deadpool quote from Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, I haven't seen that steaming shit pile almanacs. I've seen enough of the clips sampled online. I feel like I've seen what I need to see of the entire movie to get the idea. Same with Project Hail Mary. I saw enough clips in my feed without actually searching for it through their own advertising that by the time I actually watched the movie, I had legitimately seen the entire film out of sequence. And that steaming shit pile with Deadpool and Wolverine did the exact same thing.
Said, I wish I didn't see clips of Deadpool and Wolverine.
But that, and I don't like giving Ryan Reynolds money.
Luke the Mad 2 said I would have probably enjoyed it to some degree. Almanac said it is actually a lovely love letter to the 20th Century Fox movies.
I'll have to take your word on that. But speaking of not letting series die, They're making another Evangelion? I thought the rebuilds were a nice sequel to the original to finish that up.
Said, let's not talk about Evangelion.
But that's about it. That's about all I'm going to say about that.
Lupu the Mad 2 said it's something.
How are they even going to tie it in? The loop is closed.
I'm completely ignoring how you are getting yourself agitated over Ryan Reynolds.
No, you're not. You're doing it on purpose.
Face with tongue emoji.
And it's not a new thing. I have not liked Ryan Reynolds in a very, very long time, before it was even popular. We're talking pre-Blade 3 here.
Lupu the Mad 2 said I have no idea. I have avoided Evangelion because it's too intense stuff.
Oh, gotcha. Now, don't get me wrong. If I were to actually meet the guy and have a serious off-camera discussion with him, who knows? I might actually wind up liking him. Right? But his media persona, his screen presence, all lead me to believe that that is somebody I would not want to interact with on a daily basis in my personal life. How's that for an explanation? And I think that's a fair comment.
Lupu the Mad 2 said Ryan Reynolds is basically in the same category as The Rock, I feel like. Only ever plays what he portrays as himself.
No, because there's times that we've seen Dwayne Johnson be candid, and he's not The Rock. He might have that idea for his characters on screen. That's one thing. But there's times that we've seen Dwayne Johnson actually be candid and serious, and I don't mean like gravely serious, but you can tell he's not being The Rock persona. He's being him, right? Not once have I ever seen Ryan Reynolds in any kind of situation not be a smarmy jackass. Ever.
Almanac said Evangelion was a weird experience. All that build up to an epic final battle. And then the final 4 episodes just being the main character arguing with himself in his own head.
So I take it you've not seen the end of Evangelion or any of the rebuilds, Almanacs. I mean, hell, if it wasn't for him, Rick Moranis wouldn't have got beat up, for crying out loud. I'm still angry about that. So yeah, Evangelion didn't just end like that. The last 2 episodes, not the last 4, are supposed to be taken in concert with the end now.
Speaking of mecha and long-running stuff, Gundam I feel like is doing it right mostly.
No, Gundam was doing it right up until Wing.
Check out my previous work on my Instagram app.
I gotta start up a new music thing. Just give me a second. After Wing, it started to drop off. It had some good stuff in like the newer MS Igloo and things like that, but after that, it kind of started to get a little bit more. You know, where have I seen this before?
They are doing different shows and timelines instead of always bringing back everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how many times can we bring back
Almanac said,
Shar?
but isn't the end just a retcon edition? Lupu the Mad
No.
2 said, except the red comet, I suppose.
So, End of Evangelion is not a retcon. That is, if you actually watch the final 2 episodes, they're like single frame blink it and miss it things. You will see all the characters, how they end in End of Evangelion, but you will see how they end in the end flashed in that episode. So the ideas were there. They ran out of time. And then they finally got the time and money and made the End of Evangelion. And then with the rebuilds, everybody thinks, oh, they're not sequels, they're this and that. No, they're direct sequels, because in the End of Evangelion, when the giant ray, her head falls off and blood spurts everywhere, it hits the moon. And the oceans are dyed red because of it. Look at the condition of the world in the first of the rebuilds going into it. Compare it to the End of Evangelion. The rebuilds are a direct sequel of like a 6th or 7th time around. It's weird, it doesn't make sense a lot of times, but that's the most solid way I've been able to look at it and have it add up. And what breaks the cycle this time is the introduction of the Mari character, who was added to the manga later, after the series was done, which is why she wasn't in the original series, but she comes in now. It's actually pretty simple once you look at it and you're like, okay, that's what's going on. And the hint is the coffins you see on the surface of the moon. It's how many times Kaoru has been reborn. And that tells you that this isn't the first event. But it is the last one. And the 4th rebuild film tells you that. Watch them while they're still on Amazon, too, because they're hard to find elsewhere. Even though I have the original dub version of the 2nd rebuild, and they redubbed it again for redistribution on Amazon, that dub is better, you know?
Lupu the Mad 2 said yeah, but Dragon Ball is like dude wants to conquer / destroy Earth or something equivalent.
Yeah, meanwhile, let's spend 3 hours of episodes screaming into the microphone. It gets boring after a while. But if you're able to watch the original dub of the beginning of the 2nd rebuild film where Mari is chasing the Unit 5 skeleton,
Lupu the Mad 2 said Dragon Ball the manga is perfect pacing.
When she says just fucking die in the first version of it, you can tell she is putting all of her effort into it. And then the redub that they did, I don't know if they changed the take or they changed the voice actress. It just doesn't have the energy to it. Like, it doesn't... You'd have to see it to know what I'm talking about. Like, you can hear her vocal cords breaking. It's that harsh. Whereas in the new one, it doesn't sound like that. I think it's because of the Netflix buyout of Ava. They had to recast a lot of things. And everyone's like, oh, the rebuilds are just a retelling of the TV series. They are not. Halfway through the 2nd rebuild, shit goes off the rails. You do not know what's going on anymore. Because the story has changed. Yeah, like I said, I had a college roommate who watched all of the Dragon Ball stuff. So I know most of the story up until and after, like, the Boo and Cell sagas. The thing that really kind of lost my interest on that, it never stops. Like, okay, we just spent all this time defeating Cell and lost so many people and this and that and time paradox and all this other crap because Trunks being back there.
Lupu the Mad 2 said Buu Saga
Yeah,
is
and then
one of the original series.
fucking Boo comes around and it's like, oh, all the strength we got fighting Cell is meaningless. Yay. Great. And yeah, you can only take the build up and let down so many times. And I'm sorry, Krillin really came out the winner in that entire series. I'll die on that hill. From where he started to where he ended up, nah, he was the winner.
Lupu the Mad 2 said, I mean, it did matter. Goku just didn't kill Buu when he had the chance, because he wanted to leave the job to the next generation. Lupu the Mad 2 said Krillin is the winner, yes.
Lupu knows what I mean.
Lupu the Mad 2 said, I mean, he got 18, can't win more than that.
Well, not only that, but he also got his wish to make 18 who she became. And he got his hair back. But yeah, after that I kind of stopped paying attention, because then it got into GT and all that stuff, and by then, with, you know, Gohan becoming a Super Sentai style character, just, it didn't work. And Vegeta with the mustache, yeah.
Lupu the Mad 2 said GT isn't canon, so it's something.
It doesn't matter if it's not, if it is or it's not, it's still bleh. Wasn't GT done to tie in with a game that came out around that time? I thought there was something else that came up.
Lupu the Mad 2 said pretty sure not.
Or was it the owning company just playing around with Toriyama's character designs and stuff without his consent? Kind of like how Macross 2 isn't really Macross. Yeah, the original Dragon Ball where Goku's riding around on a cloud because it was kind of a retelling of, oh, what's that fucking story? God damn it, I can't remember the name of it. But yeah, Son Goku, it's Chinese legend. Oh, fuck.
Lupu the Mad 2 said Journey to the West.
Yes. You read my mind. You knew what I was talking about.
Luke with a Mad 2 said just checking because then you know where Krillin started, the little derp.
Yeah. He was supposed to be a monk. Just a regular old monk at the time. Which one was that? 5 or 6? 6. Okay, that one goes here. And that's where a lot of the more oddball characters came from, too, was from the original Dragon Ball, not Z. They just carried over into Z and got even crazier.
Lupu the Mad 2 said, oh yeah, the proportions in Dragon Ball Super are just so wrong.
To me, it's just the whole thing with Frieza and everything else
The
just
Mad
got
2
old
said
as well.
Krillin isn't that short.
No, he's not. Just checking the time. I want to at least be able to get the barrel in and the turret roof glued on, so I can do a short tonight saying that it is ready for paint. There's some other littler things I've got to do, but it'll be ready for paint on Sunday.
And interesting villain, but why is he somehow turning to Goku's Joker?
Exactly, Lupu. Exactly.
Almanac said, I have never watched a single episode of Dragon Ball. I am allergic to the forever-running anime with no story arc.
You see, Dragon Ball has more of a story arc than fucking One Piece, I'll tell you that. But you're not wrong. It is one of those series that really gets long in the tooth. There's certain arcs that could have ended a lot more quickly.
Lupu the Mad 2 said One Piece is way bloated.
Alright, let's get the roof on. I know, there's probably people watching, you're a blasphemer, you don't have the breach and the gun and blah blah blah. I don't need it! For what I'm doing, the breach is not necessary. Oh, that drop of glue landed perfectly and just ran around the entire seam. Holy shit.
Mad 2 said Dragon Ball the manga ended in 5 to 6 years. 27 years later, One Piece is still not done.
Okay. I'm going to say something I know a lot of people out there don't agree with. The new Ghost in the Shell is the best Ghost in the Shell. What we know as the Major from 1995, the episode that just aired this week, is what started that character that people know now. Everything in that episode is what became the film in 93. All that existential stuff, Project 2501, all that. The episode you just watched is where that started. So everybody who's like, I don't like the new one, it's too funny, it's too... That's what it's supposed to be!
Almanac said, I love shows like Cowboy Bebop. Not for the typical reasons, but they had a defined arc before it aired, and they showed flashes of the final episode in the premiere episode.
Funny thing about Bebop, it started out...
Mad 2 said, I have never watched any version of Ghost in the Shell, but my start in manga was reading the same art style and story style of the era that Ghost in the Shell manga was in, so I'm completely in agreement.
So, Cowboy Bebop is a mystery wrapped in an enigma. It started by Bandai as something just to sell more spaceships and robots. they really didn't care much for it. But then they were looking at it, and it took off. And they're like, wait a minute, this is something bigger.
Almanac said, "Oh, you Puritan, you." But I agree, the current GITS is the most honest to the source material manga.
I'm not being a Puritan. I appreciate the 95 film for what it has. Ghost in the Shell Innocence can go shit a brick.
At Three Spikes Railroad said,
A3
"Good
Spikes.
evening, everyone."
Standalone Complex, again, was, you could see where the source material influenced the show, but it still did its own thing.
Almanac said it was tongue-in-cheek.
But it feels really good to see Shiro's work done right.
Said, "I'm also loving the remake of the Rama anime. Way more gory and silly of the manga."
The original anime was actually still pretty silly, but limited by the animation at the time. But yeah, Ranma has been done well. Can we hope that someone's going to see this and go, okay, let's finally do Akira? If we're going to get Akira done well and done right, it has to be with this current generation of people who are willing to say, fuck you, we're telling the story as it's shown.
At Three Spikes Railroad said, "What are you chatting about?"
Anime, manga, and movies, while I'm building a German tank from World War II. Because if it wasn't for World War II, we wouldn't have anime and manga like we do today. And yes, that was meant to be a funny statement, not a literal, haha, take me seriously. Because I can literally get you the Akira manga right now and show you the specific portions that were chunked out to make the film.
Lupu the Mad 2 said, "BTW. I find it very interesting that we have been in some form of nostalgia era for anime, with all these remakes the last like 6 to 8 years."
But their remakes being done right. Even Fist of the North Star is being more true to source than even the original anime was. And the original anime wasn't that bad.
At Three Spikes Railroad said,
But at the
"Hollywood
same
also
time,
has stories."
at the...
Almanac said, "I would
Yeah.
say, with the success of GITS, there is a bigger chance than there were last year."
And do it while Otomo is still alive so we can get his input on it. That would be like trying to make Dragon Ball now without Akira Toriyama.
Lupu the Mad 2 said, "Yes, but it's not something I have never seen in anime." Spikes Railroad said, "It's sad but true."
But yeah, I can show you just how little of the original arc of Akira was done. And you'd be amazed. It's like... It's not... The film that we know as Akira, released in '88, isn't even 1/8 of the story. There's actual characters written out of existence in the film that were major plot points in the original manga. Especially the Numbers characters.
Lupu the Mad 2 said, "I should get back to watching old anime."
I'll suggest a good one for you to start with. The Venus Wars. Again, it doesn't show a lot of what happened in the manga, but the core of the story is unaltered from the manga, where Akira pulled chunks from different parts of all the books.
Check out my previous work on my Instagram at.
But it's what they had to do to get a functioning story out of it for the short amount of time in the theater that they had. But the other thing I like is...
Lupu the Mad 2 said, "I still have Gundam ZZ waiting for me."
But the one thing I like is look at Dandadan. That series is great. It's a fresh take on stuff, at least as far as like
Almanac said,
people like
"Nobody's
Americans.
ever gone wrong with Dominion Tank Police. If you want classic anime.
Oh yeah, both ones. The original OVA from the 80s or the new one from the 90s, the New Dominion. Oh, the Puma sisters from Ghost in the Shell and Tank Police were in the episode exactly as shown in the manga. But yeah, Dandadan is a fresh take on a lot of tropes and even new stuff that we haven't seen before. I think that's why that's doing so well. I can't wait to see the next season. Another good classic anime. A Wind Named Amnesia.
Mad 2 said also, I'm feeling like blasting all my senses by watching Redline again.
Redline I couldn't get into. It was... I appreciate the work that went into it. Like, I know what went into its production. I just couldn't... I couldn't get into it. The style was too all over the place for me. But that's me. And I've tried watching it.
Mad 2 said it's over the top in all the ways I find awesome.
Maybe I'll give it a try sometime later down the road again. Yeah, now it's starting to feel like a tiger.
Lupu the Mad 2 said, which was the last classic anime you mentioned.
Wind Named Amnesia. Sorry, Aries messaged me. He's home from work.
Lupu the Mad 2 said, saw the cover. Yep, that's the 80s.
What's another good one? Yeah. I mean, anything from the Manga Entertainment catalog is good. If you're looking for something a bit newer than that, Macross Plus. Macross 7 is an acquired taste. Not saying it's bad, but it is 52 episodes and does take a lot of getting used to. But if it wasn't for Macross Plus, 7 wouldn't have been made.
Lupu the Mad 2 said, oh yeah, Macross I will probably check out a few series at some point.
If it weren't for the fact that a lot of the sound weaponry you see in Frontier and Delta originated in Macross 7, I'd say skip it. But yeah, you kind of need to watch it to get what's going on in future series. They do explain it a little bit, but not well enough.
Lupu the Mad 2 said, I watched the full 50 episodes of Zeta. I think I might be hardened a little from that, so maybe I could watch it.
No. No. I'm warning you. No.
Fair enough.
Remind me which one's Zeta again, just so I know I'm thinking of the right one.
Almanac said, these days I hunt for anything not Isekai when looking for new anime to watch. That genre can just please go away.
Oh, fuck
It is
Isekai,
such
yeah.
an overdone power fantasy trope. Lupu the Mad
And it's
2
all they're
said,
making.
Gundam series.
It's all they're making. It's always medieval. It's always overpowered. It's always garbage. Oh, Mamoru Oshii's working on a new Armored Trooper Votoms. No, it's really all that it seems like is coming out there. Like, name one mecha series that's come out recently. You've been over on the island recently. You've seen what's there. We know some of the Gundam stuff that's coming out, but all you see is the isekai. It needs to end. It all needs to go away. It's either that, it's more My Hero Academia ripoffs.
The Mad 2 said, as someone that reads a lot of manga, there is an absurd amount of isekai, and have been since like 2014.
Yeah, because that was happening before Sword Art Online became a thing. That's the penultimate one that launched it for most people over on this side of the world.
But there are a lot of shows not isekai. But only Outliers gets popular in the West.
Like, that's the equivalent of saying every show is going to be a hospital drama now. Because Scrubs and The Pit are doing well.
Almanac said, like Chainsmoker Cat, my happy Monday.
I'm waiting for Chainsmoker Cat to finish, because I just want to hit that in one rip and get through it.
Luke with a Mad 2 said Mushoku Tensei, jobless reincarnation. I still don't know why I read so much of you.
Then there's Smoking Behind the Supermarket. That's a weird one. Or what's the other one I just finished? Just because I was bored. Oh, who says that the gals don't like otaku? Or something like that. But you're starting to see a trend kind of combating the birth rate issue, too. In that they're trying to get people to talk to each other more, and they're showing kind of like how to do it.
Luke who the Mad 2 said, but yeah, before we had isekai,
oh god, yeah.
Amounts of harem with
thanks, Tenchi. I blame Tenchi Muyo for that one.
Luke who the Mad 2 said fair.
And then within that, there was the stupid ones like To Love Ru and High School DxD and things like that. Where it's like, oh, it's like Tenchi, but perverted and satanic. Or you get the reverse isekai where, like, the devil is a part-timer. There is one that I liked.
Was really big earlier this year.
Remind me what that one is.
Luke with the Mad 2 said High School DxD was another one I just realized while reading a volume of the light novel.
Exactly. One that was... I think was a good premise because it wasn't isekai, but it skirted that line of being in the same vein. Was I wanted to be a hero, but now I have to work a real job. And the titles are just getting insanely stupid long. Okay, I'm going to glue the tracks on without the guide teeth. That way I can add the guide teeth later.
Almanac said soldier and Ainu girl against escaped prisoner band hinting for hidden treasure.
What was that again? Okay, is it...
Almanac said golden cameline.
Huh. Sorry, I need to look something up. Because I'm not sure how these tracks are supposed to sit on here. They don't give too clear a picture, and I'm lost. You'd think for as many times as I've seen a real tiger, I'd fucking know this.
The titles being so long is because they are adaptations of light novels that started as web novels written by random people on the internet on a certain website.
And then they just picked up momentum, I know.
Studios just redeemed free hugs.
Hello! Sorry, looking up how the spare track holders work. Which area they go into. No, I think that's wrong.
Lupu the Mad 2 said, but yeah, isekai for me at this point is more something I just ignore as a part of the setting to get to the more interesting parts of a series I'm consuming.
Just the whole medieval thing's getting a bit long in the tooth is all. Kind of like the Record of Lodos War. It just went on and on and
Lupu the
on.
Mad 2 said like, it just washes over me. Almanac said Medalist is also a heartwarming anime that getting a second season.
Or what's that series? Is it wrong to pick up girls in the dungeon? That's kind of going on a bit too far too. Okay, I see how you work now. I was right. Okay.
Lupu the Mad 2 said, I mean, most of them are more like Naruto tech, in that you never know what tech level it actually is. Things invented in any number of odd centuries are all mixed together at random.
Yeah, I just really want a good, solid sci-fi story again.
Almanac said, but you are listing all the bad examples from the Western streaming services.
I've seen some stuff that hadn't even shown up on the streaming services yet. And it all just kind of really does blur together after a bit.
Lupu the Mad 2 said streaming services is the low-skill way to consume anime.
Oh, I go on the other sites that are out there too. I really don't like using Netflix for anime. The last good anime series Netflix got was Knights of Sidonia. But unfortunately, that series is also finished. So there's not going to be anything new from that. But I like series, like we were saying earlier, that end.
The Mad 2 said, but anyways, I'm more of a fantasy guy in general, so fantasy for me is fine.
Yeah, fantasy for me has to be done well. You know, I have to feel like the authors put a little more thought into it than a lot of the derivative junk that's been out there lately.
I'm also very, very deep into manga, so I probably enjoy more worse stuff than you.
Are you saying you're a man of culture?
The Mad 2 said I'm a man of consumption of media at intense speeds when I get to it.
Alright, yeah, those are starting to work okay for me. So, they give you nice positive locators for these down here, which is good. With the Zimmer, you want something you can see to put those on. But they don't give you anything up here, hey George, for the upper latches to attach to.
Era Studios said, I guess I'm the weird one then. I like the scifi stuff.
Isekai isn't bad in moderation, but when it's all that you're finding lately, it's a bit much.
I prefer light novels right now. An anime adaptation of like 12 episodes is like 2 to 3 light novel volumes, but the light novel has 15 volumes, and that's the good stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of what goes on in some light novels wouldn't exactly be legal to air on TV in the US regardless of who imports it. And I say air on TV as in the streaming services because we know there are no real TV stations left anymore.
Lupu the Mad 2 said, heck, truer than it should be. Almanax asks, is the Edge Runners anime any good?
I actually enjoyed Edge Runners. It works in the way that Ghost in the Shell works. You're playing more in the world. You're not following a dedicated. You don't have dedicated characters you're sticking with. But you're playing in that world, and that's where Edge Runners works. Is they're in the world of Cyberpunk 2077, but not essentially within the same time you're playing the game. And what are these fundamental issues, if they're legal to talk about on stream? I don't know, YouTube and Twitch can be weird at times on that stuff.
Stream Elements said, check out my previous work on my Instagram app.
Oh, what was that series where the kid summons the demon succubus as his familiar? It's a shame we won't be getting more of that because the artist passed away. That was actually outside of the pervy nature. That the series was actually starting to turn into something good.
Said 23.
23 what?
Lupu the Mad 2 said some scenes having a bit too much emphasis on words like alluring regarding the main character that is looks-wise somewhere around 13 to 14-year-old girl. Era Studios
Oh.
said puppy aggro.
Yeah, that's something that's really crept into a lot of manga and anime lately. That used to not be there. Like, you had your lolly characters, but it was pretty clear what was going on with them. And nowadays, that doesn't happen like that anymore.
Almanac said needs a lot more PG and a lot less 13.
No, it never used to be as blatant. Armitage the Third, good example. It is, and it's gotten worse, is what I'm saying. It's always been there, but it's gotten worse. Obviously, a character meant to invoke a younger person, but you can tell that the character is obviously an adult. Where there's sometimes they're blurring the line and you're like, what? No. I get what your guys are saying, but yeah, it's gotten... It used to be at like an 8 or a 9. Now it's at an 11.
Said, I mean, this main character is internally like 30-year-old man or something.
You're not talking about Tanya the Evil, are you? I need a fresh X-Acto blade. The point on this one is out.
Luke the Mad 2 said, nah,
that's just sadistic, is what that is. Actually, let me get these upper ones on before I even do those. I gotta do those. I cut them. Grr, arg.
Luke the Mad 2 said it's, what if our horrible war criminal was a loli?
But I know what you're getting at. There's some characters that, even though you're well aware of certain things, it's like what they're doing is wrong.
Also a nice guy, but a forgivable one.
The only thing that makes it borderline unforgivable or borderline forgivable is that it's not medieval.
Lupu the Mad 2 said anyways, the one I'm talking about is, she professed herself the pupil of the wise man.
Isn't that the one with the guy with the skull face? It's already been adapted? Or are you talking a different series with the same kind of idea? Where an elder...
said is WW1 too.
I know when it takes place. I'm thinking of a different one where the mage takes a girl he bought as a wife or something like that. I forget. Tried watching it, couldn't get into it.
Lupu the Mad 2 said it's a different one, but it has an anime season.
God, I can really see why people complain about these tracks. Let me see if I can get this to focus on the size of the hole. Meant to hold. Yeah, look at that. You see where the guide teeth go? those little holes are all that's meant for the attachment surface for the pins and the guide teeth. No wonder people are knocking them off like crazy.
Almanax asks you are thinking of the ancient Magus bride, no?
Yes, yes, Almanax, that's the one. Did Plastic Little ever get anything more done, or was it just a one-off OVA?
Luke with a Mad 2 said this is a guy that plays as a Gandalf ripoff in Evermore, then accidentally changes the character's looks to be a young girl at the same time as he gets thrown into the world as an ice guy 30 years later.
Oh. I think we just gotta wait another year or two for the genre shift to come back around. And it'll either be... It'll be back to sci-fi and mecha, or it will be more stuff like Kimba the White Lion or whatever. We'll have to see.
Luke with a Mad 2 said, but Tanya the Evil has fantastic art in the manga and light novel. I don't like the art in the anime.
Okay, so I'm not the only one who noticed the art difference. So that's why I couldn't really get into Attack on Titan. Is the way the animation looks, to me, is extremely distracting. Like, I get how fucked up the story is.
The first time I saw it, I was like, WTF is this?
That's what I said, too.
Stream Elements said, check out my YouTube page at.
Okay, got 2 more to do here, 1 more to do there, but I want to get the upper retaining clips on first. Where's the U-screw? There it is.
Luke with a Mad 2 said, fun fact, the manga uses a lot of Swedish royal castles for backgrounds in Tanya. At George Davis 7629 said Attack on Titan is an awesome series though. Haven't seen the ending episodes yet though.
Like I get the scope of the series for Attack on Titan, but for me it's just very difficult to look at. And I don't need my stuff to be like overly realistic like what Mamoru Oshii makes. You know, I like goofy stuff, but something about the line art in the animation doesn't feel right, and I think that's what put me off of Redline too. It visually just sits weird. I can't describe it any other way. These should all line up.
Almanac said my wife's favorite manga is Slam Dunk, and she keeps threatening me to read it. But I just can't get through reading with those 70s style caricature characters. Luke with a Mad 2 said like the main headquarters of military command, or whatever it was, is the literal royal palace of Stockholm that is our king's workplace.
Oh yeah. It just shows that somebody appreciates a little history there. One genre you don't see enough of is okay, that's not right either. What's going on here? How does that? Okay, I get it now.
Lupu the Mad 2 asks, actual real fantasy?
Well, if you think about the way the story works, they got sent into a time before...
Lupu the Mad 2 asks, with some hero's journey mixed in?
Something like that. How in the fuck? Yeah, I don't like these. They're not right. Give me 1 second. I gotta pause. I gotta stand up anyway. It's been 3 hours. Give me a minute.
Lupu the Mad 2 said there was a time I was pulling my hair because there literally were no manga I could find with it being actually fantasy where the character wasn't ice skate in and being like a normal duder in the world.
Alright, I'm back. Yeah, Takom fucked up all of these. That is not how the track retainers should look. That is half of the track retainers. Don't tell me it's got putting on. Ah, it does. Okay.
Lupu the Mad 2 said RIP track retainers.
No, they're correct. I just wasn't seeing the whole retainer. This is the inner part that welds to the turret. Then there's the outer part that latches over the top of the track. They say to put them on and then as one unit and then clip them off. I really don't want to fight over the track link trying to trim and clean that. So I'm doing them individually. And I can line them up more exactly with the track links, how they sit. But that's me being finicky and picky and curmudgeonly and grumpy. If this one wants to actually sit still and let the glue bond... But no, I've been contemplating how to display the tank. Because I'm going to have Wittman and another guy on the top of the turret sticking out the hatches with binoculars. Should I put a farmhouse next to them to help give the tank scale? Or try and figure out how to do hedges for like a hedgerow? Because where the tank was taken out was in a farmer's field. So the farmhouse would make more sense.
Lupu the Mad too said I just wanted to say trees before you finished, but I guess that's not an option.
Trees are for the initial one. I'm going to have to learn how to make pine trees using the dowel and wire and hemp method, because I cannot find a better looking pine tree on the market for what I want to do. So that in itself is going to be an adventure. But I need to do a whole stand of them because I want to recreate the box art for the dragon initial tiger. Because I like how it looks, and it comes with most of the figures to do it. Are you guys getting a kick out of the trees that I am making, though? Are they working? Do they look like they're supposed to be trees, or... You can see how I'm developing what I want to do as I do it? There we go. Why did they make the track hangers 2 pieces?
Lupu the Mad too said got distracted by phone. Missed it if you showed.
What, the box art? No, it's... Just look up Dragon 135th Initial Tiger 1, and you'll see it's a gray tiger with like a propaganda team filming it with a stand of pine trees behind him, and that's what I want to make. I am trying my best to finish base construction on stream today, as best I can. 6 more. Because Sunday I want to come in and be able to start painting. Is this a 2-piece metal barrel? Oh, it's just saying I can replace that with the metal barrel. Okay. And then this... Okay, that's its fit limit right there. And that allows it to have the recoil area. Alright. I'm not as thunk as you dumb I was.
Lupu the Mad too said I'm heading to bed. CYA.
Alright, yeah, I'll be back on Sunday. Thanks for hanging out. I think I'll get these teeth done and the barrel done.
Almanac said later, sweet sweet.
And then call it a stream. Any of the final tidying up I'll do tonight and tomorrow. And we'll have it ready for painting on Sunday. But I also want to play a little bit of Stalker 2 tonight and get further on the new DLC. I've got to do the new X-18 mission first because I heard that feeds into the story. And the new DLC actually adds a lot to the game. It changes a lot of stuff. Why is my messenger going off?
Almanac said, "Are you a gamer?" Wouldn't have guessed.
Not like a COD gamer or anything like that. Used to play Generation Zero a lot. I turned off my Xbox Live when they started needlessly raising the price.
Almanac said, "Just figured you wouldn't really have the time."
Oh, I do. I can't be building models all the time. But yeah, between work and models and other things, I don't have a lot of time. That's why I like games like Stalker, where you can take it in little chunks, you know? Or some days you just wind up losing yourself in the game for a while because of how good it is. Others would argue that it's not, but when it comes to the Stalker series, I give it the same argument as Half-Life 3. The hype around it is so big it'll never live up to it, so you just gotta make the best game you can and release it. Stalker 2 is much like that. There are people, super fans, that had certain expectations, what they wanted from the game, what they wanted from the zone, all this and that. And they set themselves up for disappointment, and they're the ones bashing it the loudest. I just wanted a game that put me back in the Chernobyl exclusion zone. It had a lot of the same fun the first 3 games did. For me, it did it. It's not everybody's cup of tea, I know that, but I liked it. And they just released a major update which reopened some areas. It really is. I'll agree with you there. It never quite lives up to the hype surrounding it. But this especially, given the time since Call of Pripyat came out, and now. X1 J26. So I need the J sprue. I need the T sprue. X. Oh, where did it go? There it is. For the headlight mount. But I also knew going in that the game would be not perfect, right? The original one had been rebuilt 3 times by the time it came out.
Studio said, "K, dinner is here. I'll see you later."
All right, see you, Aries. I'll bug you later. And the concept of the game takes some getting used to. But I've been a fan since I read the book and saw the film that heavily influenced the world that the Stalker series takes place in.
Almanac said later, Eris.
J A5, 6. Let's do the muzzle brake first. What are we hitting? Why are we hitting? Who are we hitting? Oh, it's hitting the wing nuts on the cable hold downs. Okay. 20, 33, 31. I'm going to go with the larger muzzle brake. I just hope I can paint this one well. I've not had a lot of luck with painting tigers. I always feel like they fall a little flat, so I'm probably going to look through some different sites and magazines, get some inspiration as far as what I want to aim for on it. I don't want to do anything too beat up, because as we've discussed, this tank was only like 3 or 4 months old at the time of its destruction, so it wasn't too beat up. It wasn't very abused. But I also want to show off what, you know, some effects from like rainstorms, things like that. Just little atmospheric and environmental stuff. We're not going to go chip crazy like Night Shift did on his F-13, because that was a very unique tank in and of itself from a driving school. And it was what could be called a hybrid vehicle, in that it was made up of parts from other tanks just to make it workable.
That can go away in media, everything being shot in paper-thin depth of field. Can we please go back to shooting the lenses at T4 as they were designed to? It is not a bad thing to give the audience a bit of geographical awareness.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But, no, I was going on about the special nature of the Tiger that Night Shift did. It was a driving school Tiger, so it wasn't very well maintained to begin with. They just kept it working. And by the time the pictures came around that they were able to use as reference, the tank had already been sitting out in the field for a couple years after that. So it's difficult to tell how much of the damage to it was done from the actual combat or from sitting around. And a lot of the same happened to 007, which is the number this tank will have. The picture that we know is from at least a year, maybe a little bit later, after the war had ended. So the tank had been stripped of its tracks, its sheet metal, pretty much everything you could walk off with was taken. Come on, super glue. Just stay there for a second while I accelerate you. So the only thing I can base my finish off of is upside down pictures from tanks from the same unit from a time shortly before this one met its end. And from those pictures, I determined that they weren't very battered, they weren't very chipped, they weren't very weathered. But you gotta add a little artistic license just to make it interesting. Okay. Let's build the headlight.
Elmanox asks it's a Jag Tiger / Jag Panther.
No, not this. I do have a Sturm Tiger I'm working on. Oh no, I didn't put the emphasis on the E sound of the I. I'm gonna get in so much trouble. Anyway. And even if you look through photos of these taken during the war, you might notice that, like, the fenders are all scrunched up on the sides. It's not because the tanks themselves got beat up in combat. It's because they used a bulldozer or something after the fact to push them out of the way, which flattened them and scraped down the side of the hull. Which is why a lot of the fenders look terrible on some of these vehicles. Is that all instances? No. But I found it's been most. Where is my headlight cover? J34. There you are. Okay, they didn't go as far as to sadistically put the Bosch logo on one side or the other of this, so I'm safe there. But it does only fit on one way. Go.
Elmanox asks 007 was his Normandy tank.
It was the tank that Michael Wittman was killed in. It wasn't his tank. That had been lost in Villers-Bocage a few weeks earlier during his little rampage that took out an entire British column. This, he was crossing a farmer's field with, I think, 3 to 4 other tanks, and popular theory is he was engaged from the left by Sherman Fireflies of some unit or another, which is how he got eliminated. And the only picture of this tank is from the rear, with the turret flipped over onto its top, facing the same direction as the tank. But you can clearly see that it was a command tiger because of this pipe being on the back of the tank. I'm going to place this dry first, and then I can go in and slather it with glue. I'm not even going to try fighting it into place with glue on it. See, that's where I want it, so now I'll glue that.
At 3 Spikes Railroad said that's looking good.
We'll see how she looks once I get some paint on her. Especially since I'll be using colors that I've not used before. So I've got to learn new ways of working with them to get the effect I want. This is why I didn't want to fight it with glue on it. Because it can make a mess. Oh, of course, that broke. I should have done the old tried and true method of just bending wire. But I figured, oh hey, Takom, everything else has fit really well so far, why should I doubt it? Doubt it, gentlemen. Doubt it a lot.
Almanac said golf clap. Almanac said seemed like the appropriate measured response.
Words of encouragement? There, I got it to work. It'll look prettier once there's paint over it. Alright, now let's go to those hold downs. So I'll need the E-sprues.
Almanac said words of great encouragement.
And this one I think I'll be taking them one at a time. Because I really don't want to sneeze and have one go flying on me. That's more like it. Now if I don't smash these up with my fingers... It's even got the manufacturer's marking molded into the top. I've already got 2 figures for it. One came with it, and the other one I stole from a Tamiya set. But they should look good enough together. I'm just hoping work will begin to ramp down a little bit, so as fall and winter approach, I'm not coming home completely burnt up. Metaphorically speaking, not literally. And I'm able to stream after work more. Road wheels, idler wheels.
Almanac said, wait, what? Pat McAfee made a music record? I thought he was too busy ruining everything on ESPN. And that an achievement in itself would how quickly management is running that brand towards the abyss.
I have no idea who you're talking about. The last sports-related musical thing I remember was from the 80s when the Bears won the Super Bowl and we got the wonderful Bears Shufflin' Crew video and song, which, my God, I wanted that to end. The teachers abused that in school so much. That and We Are the World. Anybody else have their teachers line them up and try singing We Are the World when it came out? Or am I that old? It was a good song until it wasn't anymore because, you know, you got burnt out from hearing it and singing it in school. Same with Van Halen's Jump. When that was popular, that's all we heard in gym class.
Almanac, said Pat McAfee. The former Colts kicker who is everywhere these days. Was WWE commentator, was on College Game Day morning, will apparently be on NFL broadcasts now.
Still does not ring a bell for me. Maybe I'm lucky then. Is that anything like Howie Long's supposed acting career after Broken Arrow and he just kind of went away?
Almanac said, I envy your blissful ignorance.
You're welcome. I tend to try and maintain a certain degree of blissful ignorance the way things are all shoved down your throat these days. Don't need that. But yeah, I think we're going to wrap up for now. This is probably enough that I could temp assemble something for a short and have it ready for paint on Sunday. There's some little stuff like the antenna mounts to work on still, but it's presentable. It looks like a tiger. And that's probably some of the best injection molded Zimmerit I have ever seen. Woohoo! So yeah, we'll call it a stream. It's been over 3 hours anyway. And I will be back Sunday.
Almanac
Sports commentary show.
On YouTube. It became a giant thing. But every Tuesday, let Aaron Rodgers
that is so out of my wheelhouse, I'm not surprised it didn't show up. I have done nothing to allow YouTube or any other company to see that is what I'm interested in my algorithm. And now if I see it because you've mentioned it, I'm going to be very upset. But yeah, I'll be back Sunday. Thanks everybody for watching and dropping in.
said you're a smart man.
And yeah, take it easy. Have a good weekend if I don't see you before then. And go build something. If you can sit and watch me, you can also sit and make something.